Move aside, old man. A young cyclist, frustration boiling within him, cursed vehemently and rolled his eyes in exasperation. In a swift, unexpected motion, he unleashed a punch that sent the old man crashing to the gas station floor. An 85-year-old veteran, with a voice steeped in the wisdom of years, implored them to fall in line, just as all others had done before. All were left utterly speechless. Not a soul stepped forward. Yet, just half an hour later, two imposing military SUVs came to a halt outside. Emerging first from the vehicle was none other than the police chief, a figure of authority and resolve, who bore the weighty legacy of being the veteran's own son. How do you perceive the cyclist's bold maneuvers? Do you believe it was unjust? Share a comment featuring the phrase, "not unfair," to demonstrate your unwavering commitment to honor and justice. For 15 long years, Harold Eddie Malone's morning ritual remained steadfast, untouched by the passage of time. Each Tuesday and Friday, he would rise before the first light of dawn, donning his meticulously pressed button-down shirt, carefully combing his thinning white hair, and affixing his Korean War veteran badge to the left pocket of his chest with a sense of pride. The diminutive silver pin, once gleaming, had succumbed to the ravages of time, its surface dulled by decades of neglect. Yet, each night, without fail, Eddie devotedly polished it, restoring its luster as he prepared for slumber. At 85, his movements, though slower than in his youth, exuded a purposeful grace that commanded respect. His 1998 Buick Century, a gleaming testament to meticulous care, stood as his pride and joy, a shining beacon rivaled only by the remarkable accomplishments of his son, Michael. Eddie would embark on a precise journey of 3 miles to Jackson's gas station, a charming relic of the past adorned with manual pumps and a delightful bell that chimed melodiously upon his arrival. He would often lament that the newer stations lack any semblance of character. Jackson's evokes memories of a bygone era, a time when life felt more uncomplicated and pure. This Tuesday morning unveiled the inaugural whisper of autumn's embrace. A sharp breeze stirred the American flag, which hung listlessly above the station, as Eddie glided in behind 2 waiting cars. He caught sight of a cluster of motorcycles, carelessly strewn about, their presence commanding attention near the entrance of the convenience store. Their riders, a quintet of young men clad in leather jackets adorned with unfamiliar patches, erupted in raucous laughter, exchanging energy drinks and effectively obstructing the entrance. Eddie lingered with bated breath, anticipation coursing through him as he awaited his moment at the pump. With deliberate grace, he emerged from the confines of his Buick, each movement steeped in purpose. His knees cried out in their familiar agony, yet he had mastered the art of dismissal long ago amidst the icy peaks of Korea. As he extended his hand toward the pump, the raucous voices of the bikers swelled, their laughter taking on a more menacing edge. "Pardon me," Eddie interjected with a courteous demeanor, pivoting to face the assembly. "Could you kindly arrange yourselves in a line, please?" Others linger, eager to pay, as the tallest biker, no older than 25, adorned with a neck tattoo and a pierced eyebrow, whirls around with a dramatic flair. "What business is it of yours, old man?" Eddie straightened his back, rising to his full height with a commanding presence. Basic etiquette. As we navigate the tapestry of our daily lives, the biker let out a derisive snort, jostling his companions with a playful nudge. "Do you hear that sound, resonating in the air? Universal politeness. Who, pray tell, speaks in such a manner these days?" Eddie's expression held a serene composure, unyielding in the face of the storm around him. "I see that you are reveling in your merriment. I would be truly grateful if you could consider the feelings of those who are patiently waiting." "You ought to tend to your own affairs," another biker interjected with a sharp edge. Eddie observed a woman with 2 small children, their anxious eyes peering from the confines of their car, as he declared, "You're far too old to be giving orders to anyone." An elderly couple paused their gas pumping, captivated by the unfolding confrontation before them. The station attendant, a youthful figure with eyes as wide as saucers, remained utterly still behind the counter, caught in a moment of suspended disbelief. "I'm not telling you what to do," Eddie murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "I am merely seeking a measure of respect." The imposing biker advanced, casting a long shadow over Eddie's slender figure. Honor? For what purpose, I ask? The passage of time, a journey into the twilight of life. Eddie's hand, as if guided by an unseen force, brushed against his veteran's pin. I spilled my lifeblood so that you might stand here and voice your thoughts without restraint. That is the entirety of the respect I demand. A profound silence enveloped the gas station. For a fleeting instant, a glimmer of recognition danced across the biker's face, only to be swiftly replaced by a mask of disdain. Ah, splendid. Another thank me for my service speech, he sneered, his voice ringing out, piercing through the crowd for all to hear. Why not retreat to your nursing home and regale another soul with your tales of valor? Eddie remained silent, his lips sealed in an unyielding stillness. With a decisive motion, he pivoted and strode back toward his pump. In that very moment, it all unfolded. It may have been Eddie's profound silence that stirred something within him, or perhaps it was the serene dignity with which the old man navigated the world around him. The biker surged ahead, forcefully pushing Eddie's shoulder and whirling him around in a flash, leaving no time for anyone to respond. With a swift and powerful motion, he unleashed a punch that struck the side of Eddie's head with a resounding impact. The impact lacked a certain potency. The biker, though not unleashing his entire might, delivered a blow potent enough to send Eddie reeling backward, caught off guard by the unexpected impact. His feet became ensnared beneath him, and he plummeted violently against the unforgiving concrete, his head colliding with the base of the gas pump, producing a chilling crack that echoed in the air. From a gash on his temple, blood began to flow with urgency, creating a small pool of crimson that stood in vivid contrast to the cold, gray concrete beneath. Silence enveloped the gas station, a heavy stillness that hung in the air like a thick fog. The biker stood there, a look of disbelief etched across his face, grappling with the weight of his own actions. Phones sprang forth from pockets, capturing the moment as a throng of onlookers stood frozen, yet not one soul dared to step forward and offer assistance. The biker recoiled, casting a glance at his companions, who seemed just as bewildered. He invaded my space, his words tumbling out in a stutter. Though Eddie had committed no such act, he remained motionless for a fleeting moment, his sight fading into a haze. At the age of 85, even the slightest tumble could spell disaster, yet he had triumphed over far graver challenges, far more harrowing than this. With great effort and a sense of struggle, he gradually turned onto his side, summoning every ounce of strength to lift himself into a sitting position. Crimson droplets cascaded down his cheek, staining the pristine fabric of his shirt with a vivid reminder of the chaos that had just unfolded. He caressed the wound with a delicate touch, a sharp pang of agony coursing through him, yet he remained silent, a stoic figure in the face of suffering. The station attendant finally stepped forth from behind the counter, a roll of paper towels clutched tightly in his hand, yet he halted several feet away, as if gripped by an unseen fear that held him back from approaching any closer. Eddie averted his gaze from the biker, shunning the eyes of all around him. With immense determination, he extracted a handkerchief from his pocket, pristine and white, adorned with his initials stitched in elegant blue thread, a cherished gift from his departed wife, and pressed it firmly against his temple. With the gas pump as his only ally, he rose to his feet, silence enveloping him, no plea for assistance, no menacing words, not even a fleeting look at his assailant. Only silence remained, a disciplined hush reminiscent of the countless years past, as he stood in the trenches, the haunting whistle of enemy fire echoing above him. Crimson rivulets flowed relentlessly through Eddie's handkerchief, as he leaned against the gas pump, a figure caught in a moment of tense stillness. His breath escaped him in sharp, measured gasps, a skill he had mastered long ago to tame the relentless grip of pain. The bikers stood in hushed disbelief, their once bold bravado dissipating like mist in the wake of the shocking events that had just unfolded. We must urgently summon an ambulance. A woman's voice resonated through the air, yet still, no one stirred. The heavy weight of shared guilt hung in the air, rendering all but one man motionless in their inaction. A blue truck rumbled to a halt at the deserted pump, and from its depths emerged a broad-shouldered man in his early 30s. His face, etched with the marks of labor, and hands roughened by toil, told a story of hard work and resilience. In a heartbeat, he surveyed the tableau before him, his gaze drawn to the blood-drenched handkerchief, the retreating figures of the bikers, and the encircling throng of silent onlookers, their phones raised like modern-day totems. "Sir, are you all right?" he inquired, advancing purposefully toward Eddie. Eddie inclined his head ever so slightly. "I'm fine, son." "Merely a scratch," he declared, yet the truck driver, bearing the name Ethan upon his badge, cast a wary glance at the expanding crimson stain upon Eddie's handkerchief, his brow furrowing in concern. "That's no mere scratch. Allow me to assist you in taking a seat." With a blend of tenderness and resolve, Ethan ushered Eddie to a plastic chair positioned outside the convenience store. He fetched a first aid kit from his truck, meticulously preparing to cleanse the wound with utmost care. "I know who you are," Ethan murmured softly, his hands deftly moving as he toiled. "I had the privilege of hearing your words at last year's Memorial Day service. My grandfather also served in Korea." Eddie's eyes, touched by the passage of time yet still keen, scrutinized Ethan's expression. "McNamara. You are the grandson of Arthur McNamara," Ethan said, his eyes widening in astonishment. "You remember him?" "I remember all of them," Eddie replied with a quiet intensity. At this moment, the bikers had withdrawn to their roaring machines, their voices barely above a whisper, their eyes darting anxiously toward Eddie and Ethan. The tallest among them, the one who had unleashed the blow, appeared especially restless, striding anxiously to and fro beside his motorcycle. "I shall summon the authorities," Ethan declared with fervor, brandishing his phone. "And I've got your license plate numbers," he declared, his gaze piercing through the air, locking onto the bikers with unwavering intensity. Eddie laid his weathered hand upon Ethan's arm, a gesture heavy with unspoken words. "There is no necessity to create a commotion. I've endured far greater trials in the depths of foxholes spanning 2 continents. One mere punch cannot alter my essence." Yet, Ethan remained deaf to my words. He had already pressed a number, not 911, but a name etched in his phone's memory. "Chief Malone, it is I, Ethan McNamara. I find myself at Jackson's gas station, accompanied by your father. An incident has occurred." The bikers caught wind of this exchange, and a pallor swept over their leader's face, as if the very life had been siphoned away. "Malone, lo and behold, the police chief is none other than his own son." Ethan's voice surged with intensity as he unraveled the gravity of the situation. "No, sir," he declares, his voice steady. "He is unharmed, yet the crimson tide is alarming." "Indeed. They remain, lingering in the shadows." "I comprehend fully. We shall proceed, sir." Once the call ended, Ethan faced Eddie, a spark of admiration igniting within him. "Your son is on his way." He was already in close proximity, engaged in a rigorous training exercise with the military base personnel. Eddie let out a weary sigh. Michael had always been a fortress of overprotection. There was no reason to shatter his focus for the sake of an old man's troubles. Meanwhile, Ethan seized the moment, capturing the unfolding drama with his camera, documenting the bikers and their license plates with meticulous precision. The station attendant, summoning his courage at last, emerged with bottles of water and pristine towels. "Missed Malone," he uttered, a tremor of anxiety lacing his voice. "I am deeply remorseful. I ought to have taken action. I simply stood paralyzed." Eddie grasped the young man's hand firmly. "Fear is a natural part of life, my boy. What truly holds significance is the act of acknowledging it, in all its raw essence. Next time, you shall do better." The elderly couple, having observed from a distance, approached with a gentle caution. The woman's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, a poignant reflection of her inner turmoil. "We ought to have come to your aid," she declared. We all simply stood there, frozen in the moment. "At times, merely bearing witness is a profound act of bravery," Eddie responded, his voice resonating with conviction. The world yearns for those who hold on to the memories of what transpired, even when they were powerless to intervene. As more patrons flocked to the station, an air of anticipation enveloped the scene, whispers weaving through the crowd like a tapestry of intrigue, fingers gesturing in hushed curiosity. The bikers shifted uneasily, mounting their motorcycles with an air of impending departure. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Ethan warned, his voice cutting through the tension. "Running will only exacerbate the situation." The leader dismounted with great reluctance. "Look." The old man leaned in, his gaze piercing through me. "I have merely responded." It was hardly a formidable blow. Eddie stood in silence, tending to his wound with careful, deliberate movements. His silence hung in the air, a palpable tension that unsettled the biker far more than any accusation ever could. "Speak now," the biker finally bellowed. "Shout at me. Menace me with the offspring of your police chief. Take action," Eddie commanded, his gaze unwavering and piercing. "What do you wish to hear from my lips? That I harbor hatred for you? I do not. That I tremble in your presence? I do not. I have stood before men who yearned for my demise, who were convinced with every fiber of their being that I was worthy of death. You're merely a young man who has succumbed to his rage." The biker's fierce stance wavered. "Yet, I struck you. You are bleeding because of my actions." "Indeed," Eddie conceded. "And you shall bear the weight of that knowledge for all time. Perhaps that's punishment enough." A hush descended upon the crowd, each person hanging on Eddie's words, captivated by the weight of the moment. Unbeknownst to the bustling crowd, two ominous black SUVs glided into the station, their presence commanding attention as they came to a sudden halt right before the store. The engines roared with a menacing hum, and their government plates sparkled defiantly in the bright morning sun. The arrival of the black SUVs electrified the atmosphere in an instant. Their tinted windows concealed the secrets of the occupants within, yet the military-grade vehicles, adorned with official insignia and crowned with antenna arrays, exuded an undeniable air of authority. For what felt like an eternity, the doors remained resolutely closed. The engines hummed with a foreboding intensity. The bikers stood motionless, their dreams of escape shattered in an instant. Customers and bystanders recoiled in unison. As the circle expanded around the unfolding scene, even Ethan found himself standing a touch taller, his hand instinctively rising to his cap in a solemn gesture of reverence. At long last, the driver's door of the first SUV creaked open, revealing the anticipation that lay within. A towering figure, broad-shouldered and commanding, stepped forth from the shadows, clad in the immaculate uniform of the county police chief, a symbol of authority and duty. Michael Malone's visage, reminiscent of his father's in form yet imbued with the vitality of youth, revealed no trace of feeling as he surveyed the unfolding tableau before him. His gaze swept deliberately from the crimson-stained temple of his father to the anxious assembly of bikers, absorbing every nuance with an expert scrutiny. From the second SUV, two military officers stepped forth, a man and a woman, both clad in army fatigues adorned with the distinguished insignias of lieutenants. As Michael advanced, they surrounded him, their movements a seamless dance of practiced precision. Michael lingered, hesitating to approach his father's side. With deliberate strides, he advanced, halting precisely before the gathering of bikers. His hand lay nonchalantly upon his holstered sidearm, not an act of aggression, but a poignant reminder of the power he wielded. "Who among you dared to lay a hand on an 85-year-old veteran?" His voice resonated throughout the gas station, effortlessly commanding attention without the need for volume. The bikers cast furtive glances at one another, each one hesitant to take that fateful step into the unknown. Their once bold bravado had vanished into thin air, leaving only a haunting silence in its wake. "Allow me to rephrase," Michael pressed on, his voice growing even more frigid. "Who among you dared to lay a hand on Harold Malone, a valiant combat veteran of the Korean War, a steadfast military advisor in Vietnam, a proud recipient of the Silver Star, and my father?" An oppressive silence enveloped the station, thick and palpable. Even the traffic on the nearby road appeared to hush, as if the very world was pausing, suspended in a moment of anticipation. The tallest biker, with a mix of uncertainty and resolve, finally took a tentative step forward. "My dear sir, it appears there has been a grave misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding," Michael echoed, his demeanor unwavering. 16 individuals captured this moment of confusion on their devices. The security cameras immortalized this misunderstanding from 3 distinct perspectives. Your friends bore witness to this unfortunate misunderstanding. Shall we embark on another attempt? The biker gulped, the motion unmistakable and laden with tension. In a moment of fury, I lost my temper. He commanded us to advance, and that somehow legitimized the brutality inflicted upon an elderly man who had endured 3 harrowing campaigns in Korea? One of the military officers interjected, her voice cutting through the air with a fierce, restrained fury. The female lieutenant advanced with purpose, her presence commanding the attention of all around her. Alas, it has slipped away. Last year, Malone imparted his wisdom in survival techniques to half of my unit. Men and women, vibrant and full of life, gathered for hours, captivated by the profound wisdom he imparted. He maintained an unwavering calm, never allowing his voice to rise, even in the face of recruits committing potentially deadly errors. With a decisive movement, Michael pivoted from the intimidating presence of the bikers, striding purposefully towards his father. He sank to one knee, his gaze tenderly lingering on the wound as he assessed its depth. "You've kept us waiting, Michael," Eddie remarked, a playful glimmer dancing in his eyes. "I warned you, those new SUVs are far too ostentatious for the serious business of police work." Michael shook his head, a wave of relief crashing through the facade of his professional demeanor. "And I implored you to cease your quarrels with those men who are but a mere fraction of your years." He refrained from engaging in any conflict. Ethan burst forth with fervor. He embodied nothing but respect. With a commanding gesture, Eddie raised his hand, halting Ethan in the midst of his words. "It holds no significance now. What has been done is irrevocable." With unwavering determination, Michael lifted his father from the ground, restoring him to his feet. "A medical team races towards us, their urgency palpable in the air. They will insist on examining you for a concussion." "Utter nonsense." Eddie raised his voice in fervent objection. "I've endured far greater trials than the mere tumble from my slumbering sanctuary." The male lieutenant strode forward, his hand outstretched toward Eddie, a gesture laden with unspoken intent. "Captain Malone, what a privilege it is to stand before you once more, sir." As we engaged in our collaborative drills with the local law enforcement, the shocking events unfolded before us. "Lieutenant Carlos and I fervently insisted on accompanying your son." Eddie grasped the officer's hand with fervor. "Ah, Lieutenant Angela, ever the vigilant guardian, I see you continue to shield my son from the tempest of mischief." Lieutenant Angela offered a smile, striving to maintain his composure, "Sir," even as the challenge loomed large before him. Michael pivoted to face the bikers, his demeanor shifting to one of steely resolve. "I require individual statements from each of you, in isolation. Lieutenant Carlos shall graciously receive your information." The biker, emboldened by his earlier aggression, advanced once more, a storm brewing in his eyes. "My dear sir, I must express my sincerest apologies to your esteemed father. It was never my intention." "Reserve your words for the judge," Michael interjected with a commanding presence. "To lay hands upon an elderly individual is to commit a grave felony in this state." Eddie rested his hand gently on his son's shoulder, a gesture filled with unspoken emotion. "Michael." A fleeting moment. The 2 men withdrew to the shadows, their voices barely a whisper, laden with secrecy. The assembled throng observed with bated breath as Eddie animatedly gestured, his passion palpable, while Michael, in stark contrast, shook his head with fervent insistence. After several minutes, Michael's shoulders fell in a weary surrender, a silent acknowledgement of the weight he bore. They made their way back to the heart of the unfolding drama, where the bikers formed a formidable line, their identities scrutinized by the watchful gaze of Lieutenant Carlos. "My father, Michael, has made the momentous decision to refrain from pursuing charges." Whispers of astonishment cascaded through the throng. The bikers cast glances of utter disbelief at one another. Yet, Michael pressed on, his voice rising just enough to hush the whispers that filled the air. This remains a striking instance of assault, observed by numerous witnesses. The county shall seek to impose charges unless a different resolution can be attained. Eddie advanced, his petite stature belied by an undeniable magnetism that captivated the gaze of all assembled. The young man boldly directed his words to the biker, capturing his attention with an air of confidence. "Are you aware of the noble cause for which we battled in Korea?" The biker, a storm of thoughts swirling within, shook his head, bewildered by the inquiry that hung in the air like a thick fog. "Freedom," Eddie declared with a weighty simplicity, a concept that transcended borders, embracing not only Americans but also those we had yet to encounter, individuals who bore different appearances and spoke in tongues unfamiliar to our ears. We held steadfast to the conviction that every individual is entitled to dignity and respect. He lingered, his fingers brushing against the emblem of his service, a poignant reminder of valor and sacrifice. "I wish for you to be spared from any punishment. I desire for you to grasp the profound significance of that pin. Lieutenant Angela, pray tell, what is the volunteer program we deliberated upon for your esteemed unit?" Lieutenant Angela stood tall, "The Veterans Outreach Initiative, sir. We are transforming the community center on the east side into a vibrant haven for veterans, a sanctuary where they can find camaraderie and unwavering support." Eddie inclined his head in agreement. "If you pledge to fulfill 60 hours of service there, my son will refrain from pressing charges on behalf of the county. You will stand shoulder to shoulder with brave men and women who dedicate their lives to serving this great nation. Prepare to be captivated by the tales they have to share. You will come to realize that that punch carried a weight far beyond the mere request of an elderly man urging you to bide your time." Though a flicker of discontent danced in Michael's eyes, he acquiesced with a nod, masking his true feelings beneath a veneer of agreement. "Lieutenant Carlos shall gather your contact details and orchestrate the arrangement with precision. Should you falter and fail to fulfill even a single hour, the charges shall be swiftly reinstated without hesitation." The biker advanced boldly, exuding an air of unwavering confidence. "I shall embark on this endeavor. And, my dear sir," he turned his gaze upon Eddie, speaking directly to him. "I am deeply sorry." Eddie gazed intently at the young man's face, his scrutiny lingering in the air like a heavy fog. "I am convinced of your truth." "Ah, a promising beginning." The male lieutenant advanced toward Eddie once more. "My esteemed sir, there lies before us yet another pressing matter that demands our attention. Should you find yourself inclined, the base commander has been informed of the incident and has summoned you to appear tomorrow morning." Eddie arched an eyebrow, a flicker of intrigue dancing across his features. "For what purpose, I ask?" Lieutenant Angela beamed with a radiant smile. "He is convinced that the moment has arrived for the base to truly acknowledge your invaluable contributions to our training programs. Whispers abound of a grand honor, a proposal to etch your name upon the very walls of the new tactical instruction facility." At that moment, the morning air crackled with an unexpected revelation as Eddie Malone's expression transformed into one of genuine astonishment. "Such a thing is utterly superfluous. With the utmost respect, sir, Lieutenant Carlos has entered the fray. The time has finally come, and it is long overdue." 1 month after the fateful incident at Jackson's gas station, the parking lot had undergone a remarkable transformation. The weathered building was adorned with vibrant red, white, and blue bunting, cascading like a patriotic waterfall. Neatly arranged folding chairs filled the space where cars once roamed, transforming the area into a gathering of anticipation. A makeshift stage stood proudly at the entrance of the convenience store, adorned with a podium that bore the illustrious seal of the United States Army. Eddie Malone perched in the front row, fidgeting with his tie, a palpable tension radiating from him. Though he had vehemently opposed this entire affair, Michael remained resolute in his insistence. And when Michael resolved to pursue a goal, he embodied the same fierce determination as his father. "This is utterly unnecessary," Eddie muttered, his voice laced with disdain, as Michael took a seat beside him, resplendent in his dress uniform. All this commotion over an elderly gentleman being struck down. Michael beamed with a radiant smile. This transcends the mere incident, father. This marks a remarkable span of 60 years of service, a journey that has unfolded in the shadows, largely unacknowledged and uncelebrated. The audience, a vibrant tapestry of the community, filled every chair with anticipation and energy. Veterans, adorned in their distinguished service caps, sat in solemn camaraderie beside vibrant young families. Amidst the bustling crowd, police officers intertwined with the dedicated teachers and diligent store clerks, creating a vivid tapestry of community life. In the dimly lit back row, somewhat distanced from the rest, 5 young men sat, clad in crisp button-down shirts. The bikers, now transformed and nearly unrecognizable without their iconic leather jackets, exuded an air of quiet intensity. At the stroke of 10 a.m., a color guard from the nearby military base advanced with unwavering determination, presenting the flag with an elegance that commanded attention. The base commander, a colonel with a countenance as stern as granite and a chest adorned with a myriad of ribbons, strode purposefully toward the podium. Esteemed ladies and gentlemen, we assemble here today not merely to pay tribute to a remarkable individual, but to acknowledge a principle that appears to be fading in our world, an unwavering dignity that stands resolute against the tide of disrespect. As the commander recounted Eddie's illustrious military record and his decades of unwavering community service, there stood Jackson, the elderly figure, absorbing every word. The owner of the gas station stood at the entrance of the convenience store, a radiant smile illuminating his face, brimming with pride. In the stillness of the night, he had transformed the weathered sign that hung above the door, breathing new life into its once dull presence. It now proclaimed Malone Station, a realm of distinction. Ethan McNamara sat in rapt attention beside his grandfather, the aged veteran's eyes glistening with unshed tears as the tales of Eddie's harrowing exploits in Korea unfolded with vivid intensity. Many of these stories had remained locked away, never whispered even to his own son, revealing a depth of experience that was both haunting and profound. Thus, the commander proclaimed with a flourish, "It is my esteemed honor to bestow upon Harold Eddie Malone this commendation from the Secretary of the Army, a testament to his unwavering dedication and remarkable service, both in uniform and as a devoted civilian." Eddie rose with a deliberate grace, dismissing Michael's earnest offer of assistance as he made his way to the stage. As he approached the podium, a wave of anticipation swept through the crowd, compelling every individual to rise in unison. The applause began as a gentle murmur, gradually swelling into a resounding roar that compelled the seasoned veteran to halt mid-ascent on the steps. Overcome by the magnitude of the response, Eddie stood at the podium, seemingly diminished, overshadowed by the imposing microphone and the grand military seal looming behind him. Yet, as he uttered his words, his voice resonated powerfully throughout the altered expanse of the gas station lot. "This recognition is not something I deserve," he began, his voice trembling with emotion. "I stood among countless others, answering the call of duty with unwavering resolve. The true heroes never returned." He paused, his gaze locking onto the 5 young bikers in the back row. "A sage once proclaimed that true character reveals itself in the shadows, when the eyes of the world are turned away. Honor reveals itself in the way you stand tall when the world bears witness to your suffering." The crowd hushed, captivated by his every utterance. Just a month past, a young man found himself ensnared in a grave error within these very walls. Since that pivotal moment, he has stood shoulder to shoulder with veterans at our community center, forging bonds that transcend time. He has absorbed their tales, each one a vivid tapestry woven with emotion. He has demonstrated profound remorse, not merely through empty words, but through the weight of his actions. Eddie waved his hand dramatically toward the leader of the bikers, who lingered in a state of uncertainty. "Ryan, might I implore you to join me, if you would be so kind?" A hushed whisper swept through the throng as the young man boldly advanced, each step echoing with anticipation. He ascended the steps, his presence a blend of uncertainty and tension as he positioned himself beside Eddie. This young man has triumphantly completed not merely 60, but an astounding 120 hours of service. Eddie proclaimed his newfound understanding that respect transcends mere age or the attire one wears. It is a profound journey of acknowledging the essence of humanity that resides within us all. Ryan took a deep breath, his throat tightening with a palpable tension. Have you been overlooked? Malone bestowed upon me a gift. How could I possibly merit another opportunity? Next month, my friends and I shall embark on a momentous journey of enlistment. We yearn to command the respect that we ought to have demonstrated from the very start. A fresh surge of applause cascaded through the audience, echoing like a tidal wave of appreciation. Michael gazed up at his father, his heart swelling with unmasked pride. Following the ceremony, as the crowd swirled around, exchanging laughter and savoring refreshments, Jackson dramatically revealed a framed photograph destined to grace the station's walls for eternity. There stood a much younger Eddie, resplendent in his army uniform, poised at attention alongside his unit in the heart of Korea. Below lay a modest plaque inscribed with the profound words, "Honor transcends the mere clash of swords on battlefields." At times, it finds itself under the watchful gaze of gas stations, a fortress of sorts. Eddie, feeling the weight of the spotlight pressing down upon him, seized a fleeting opportunity to escape to the solace of his Buick. As he sat behind the wheel, lost in contemplation, a sudden knock on his window jolted him from his reverie. Ethan stood resolutely beside his grandfather, the venerable veteran, who, despite leaning on his cane, maintained a proud and upright posture in his time-worn uniform. Have you been overlooked? Malone, Ethan declared as Eddie lowered the window, my grandfather has a secret he's been yearning to share with you for 60 long years. The seasoned veteran raised his hand in a crisp salute, the lines of his weathered palm unwavering and resolute. Staff Sergeant Malone, Hill 209, November of the year 1952. You bore me through a relentless mile of sniper fire, your strength unwavering, after I was struck by shrapnel in both legs. Alas, I never had the chance to express my gratitude as it truly deserves. Eddie's eyes flared with a sudden spark of recognition. Private McNamara, you have returned to us, and it is all due to your bravery, the old soldier responded with heartfelt gratitude. And now my grandson reveals to me that you continue to battle valiantly, unwavering in your pursuit of justice. Eddie beamed, a radiant and authentic smile that seemed to wipe away the years etched upon his visage, no longer battling, but rather evoking the very essence of our struggle. As Eddie navigated the winding road home that fateful afternoon, he caught sight of the gas station, now adorned with its fresh name, a symbol of change in the air. Jackson had returned to his post, diligently fueling the vehicles of eager customers. Yet, a transformation had unfolded. Once, individuals hurried in and out, but now they tarried, engaging in lively conversations with one another. A vibrant new flag danced in the breeze above the pumps, its colors more vivid than ever, while on the newly adorned wall, boldly displayed for all who entered, were the powerful words, "Respect is earned, honor is given, both must be preserved." Not every soul adorned in a uniform embodies heroism, yet it is those who uphold their dignity amidst the storm of disrespect who truly command our profound admiration. Share your thoughts, with reverence, to demonstrate your commitment to gratitude and justice. Join Tala Strength and help share more tales that resonate deeply with the soul.